Children with ADHD are more likely than kids who don't have ADHD to experience low levels of omega-3s in their blood. A great study that talks about this is called Omega-3 Fatty Acids and ADHD, Blood Level and Meta-Analysis, Extension of Supplement Trials. It was published in 2014 and reviewed over 25 studies that looked at ADHD and omega-3s. They found conclusive evidence that people with ADHD tend to need omega-3 supplements more than people who don't. But now we need to know the proof. What happens when we actually give people with ADHD omega-3 supplements? The 2017 paper titled, "Do omega-3/6 fatty acids have a therapeutic role in children and young people with ADHD?" addresses this point beautifully. This study was a systematic review of over 16 studies with over 1,500 kids. And what it found was that kids who take omega-3s experience improvements in learning, memory, attention, and hyperactivity. That's really powerful, especially because omega-3s tend to come with more side benefits than they do side effects. That's because omega-3s are used all throughout the body to insulate our cell membranes and even make up a large amount of our brain volume. Omega-3 fatty acids are also anti-inflammatory. They help to inhibit the creation of inflammation molecules like prostaglandins, thromboxanes, and leukotrienes, which can create a lot of havoc in the body. We also know that inflammation plays a role in mental health disorders, including ADHD. So taking omega-3s is a great way to treat the root cause of attention issues. Additionally, we see omega-3s being used in other conditions like anxiety and anger. We've got another video on that. And so if you know someone with ADHD, anxiety, and anger issues, omega-3s can help with all three. Next up, magnesium. Magnesium is a calming supplement that helps to counteract neuronal hyperexcitability, which means a lot of excitability in your nervous system. It makes sense then that it helps with anxiety and even musculoskeletal issues like tense muscles. Magnesium just generally helps everything relax. Now, we know that people with ADHD tend to have less magnesium in their bloodstream. A great meta-analysis to read about this is called Magnesium and Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, a meta-analysis. It was published in 2019, and it found that on average, folks with ADHD have significantly lower magnesium levels than people without it. Now, knowing whether or not adding in magnesium actually helps with ADHD symptoms is another story. Thankfully, some researchers already did the work for us and found that absolutely yes, magnesium supplementation works for ADHD. The study I want you to read here is called Effect of Vitamin D and Magnesium Supplementation on Behavior Problems in Children with Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. What this study found was that 8 weeks of magnesium and vitamin D supplementation did improve symptoms in kids with ADHD significantly, as measured by the Connor score, which is a type of scoring system we use to measure different aspects of ADHD symptoms, like hyperactivity, impulsivity, social problems, and more. What's brilliant is that this study also compared vitamin D and magnesium to placebo and found that it was superior. We do this because placebo effect can actually help with mental health disorders. We find the placebo effect can account for 30% improvement sometimes in studies, which is why we always include it as a control when we're studying an intervention. Interestingly, there's a placebo studies department at Harvard University, and we're actually studying placebo as a legitimate intervention in mental health disorders. Last up for this video is iron. Now, there's almost no more important mineral in the human body. Iron allows your red blood cells to carry oxygen, which means the oxygen you breathe into your lungs is then actually able to be delivered to organs like your brain, which helps with concentration. Researchers have found that iron is massively important for people with ADHD. In fact, even if you don't have iron deficiency anemia, taking a little bit of iron along with ADHD medications actually makes them work better. The evidence that supports this is beautifully summarized in a systematic review of clinical trials called The Role of Iron and Zinc in the Treatment of ADHD in Children and Adolescents. It was published in 2021, and it's a great review of the role of these two really important nutrients in the treatment of ADHD. Now, one of the most powerful studies that demonstrates the benefits of taking iron alongside ADHD medications lasted 2 months. And this is important to remember if this is something you're going to implement as your own routine or chat with your doctor about using for your child. Now, you should always talk to a doctor and get your iron measured before you supplement it. This is because iron gets stored in the body, and if you don't need it, too much can actually be a bad thing. We do know, though, if you've got ADHD, chances are better than 50-50 that you've got an iron deficiency. For example, we found that kids with ADHD are much more likely to have low ferritin stores than people without ADHD. Now, the top natural source of iron might surprise you. Most people think it's beef, but actually it's oysters. In fact, you'd have to eat 9 ounces of beef per day just to get the minimum amount of iron that most adults need. This is why it can be really beneficial to work with a registered dietitian or functional medicine practitioner who's trained in how to use nutrients appropriately to figure out the exact right dose for you. Then you want to monitor blood levels over time to make sure you're not getting too high or staying too low. People who menstruate are at increased risk of iron loss because they lose blood regularly each month. The same goes for people with IBD and other disorders that cause the loss of blood through the digestive tract. No matter what, your best bet is to talk with your doctor about if iron is needed for your body and how to get it if so. If you decide to take it, you're likely to experience the same benefits as the people in these studies did, namely improved concentration, better ability to regulate behavior, and even improvement in your memory. If you want more videos like this about the root causes of disorders and natural interventions that you can use to treat them, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We'll see you in the next video.